the last lab, CLAT 23, and we shall be studying international law and intellectual property rights. Good evening, everyone. How are you all? तुमने मेरा टाइमिंग देखा? वीडियो लाइव होता ही मैंने बोलना शुरू कर दिया. Generally, I'm waiting or I speak too early, so I'm in the middle of the conversation when the video starts. Today, I started right on time. That's so great. I'm finally getting the hang of it after 2 whole years. So that's funny. Oh, actually, I did not start on time exactly. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. Good evening, guys. Good evening. Good evening. How are you all? तो आज हम इंटरनेशनल लॉ और इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी राइट्स पढ़ेंगे. अब इसे पढ़ने से पहले आप ये समझ लें कि इंटरनेशनल लॉ का और आईपीआर का रेलेवेंस क्लैट को लेकर बहुत ज्यादा नहीं है. दैट्स द ट्रूथ. So they don't really focus on international law or intellectual property rights. But if you understand the concept, it is more, inclined towards the current info or the current events that are happening. So you complement this class along with the current affairs class that is going on. तो इसके साथ साथ जो करंट अफेयर्स की क्लास है आप उससे भी देखेंगे और उसमें अगर कुछ भी ऐसा है इंटरनेशनल लॉ से रिलेटेड या फिर इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी राइट से रिलेटेड तो वो आपको पढ़ा दिया जाएगा. लेकिन उन सब चीजों को समझने के लिए भी आपको इसके इन लॉ के बेसिक्स जानना जरूरी है. तो इन लॉ के बेसिक्स हम यहाँ पढ़ेंगे. इन लॉ से रिलेटेड जो भी करंट इवेंट हुआ है वो हम करंट अफेयर्स की क्लास में पढ़ेंगे. ठीक है. So don't even for a moment consider this class irrelevant or unimportant, right? You have to complement this lecture along with the current affairs lecture that will focus on any international or intellectual property right event that has happened latest. Okay. Sample paper 2 logical reasoning analysis has not come yet. Bhavesh, okay. Well, I don't know how to help you in that regard, Bhavish. We shall release it very soon. Don't worry. Okay, we shall release it very soon. You get irritated when your time goes up. And you didn't. Who doesn't get irritated, Ramdas? I mean, that is the most basic human emotion, buddy. And I'm with you. I get it. Okay, so you're really working hard and then you're in the midst of it, in the zone, like you're getting all the questions right and suddenly the timer goes and you're like, अरे अभी तो पूरा भी नहीं हुआ यार. तो ऐसा हो जाता है. आपकी रीडिंग स्पीड में कमी है बच्चे. रामदास, आपकी रीडिंग स्पीड में कमी है और आपकी रीडिंग स्पीड में सिग्निफिकेंट कमी है. इसीलिए आपको ये परेशानी झेलनी पड़ रही है. Important treaties and conventions are important. Althea, important treaties and conventions, only those are important which are there in the newspaper. You started crying. Oh my God. You don't have to cry, sweetheart. It's okay. You are lacking in your reading speed. Okay, that's where you're lacking, buddy. आपकी रीडिंग कम है, आप बहुत धीरे धीरे पढ़ रहे हो और आप इरिटेट इसलिए हो रहे हैं क्योंकि आपको सब कुछ समझ आ रहा है. यू नो द क्वेश्चंस, यू नो द आंसर. अदरवाइज स्टूडेंट्स डोंट गेट इरिटेटेड. छूट गया तो छूट गया. कोप अप करने का यही तरीका है कि आप अपनी रीडिंग पे काम करें. रीडिंग पे काम कैसे किया जा सकता है? पढ़ के. और कोई तरीका नहीं है. There is no show. I really wish I could give you a Harry Potter spell like thing and then suddenly I do this BYJU'S thing with my wand and you are as good in reading as I am. This is self-flaunting, but that's true. You're getting very anxious. So reading का यही तरीका है कि आप reading को practice करिए. Why don't you start with long passages or keep practicing passages, increase your, in what should I say, quantity. So if you're doing 2 passages in a day or 5 passages in a day, increase it to 10. Double your effort. अगर तुम 10 पैसेज कर रहे हो एक दिन में तो 15 कर दो, 17, 18 कर दो. जितने कर सकते हो उतने करो और रीडिंग बेस्ड पैसेज ज्यादा करो. Focus on GK and legal more in reading, right? Because in logical and English, you don't have to read that much case, and in quantitative, you have to create caselets. So reading is, more required in GK and legal. So Practice as many passages as you can, increase or double your frequency, and that's how you'll cope up. You were also crying yesterday. You know the concepts, but you cannot do them. How can you get better? And what does Vinayak say? Oh my God, I cannot. Happy birthday in advance. Oh my God, how did you know it's my birthday? Thank you so much, Sijan. That is so sweet. Wait, let me see the comments. I cannot see your comments. I know now I cannot see anybody's comments. You scored sample paper to 105.25. You're not shocked, but suddenly it happened. So, yeah, the paper was pretty easy. You should read passage. Yes. Yes. So, Ramdas, there's a student, one of your peers on the app, he's saying कि you should read with underline. अच्छा ऐसा क्यों नहीं करते? It's not my birthday today. It's day after. I'm usually not excited on my birthday. In fact, I think I'm working on my birthday. I'm too old to be celebrating birthdays now. Yeah, and there's nothing, मतलब कोई नेशनल हॉलिडे वगैरह जैसी कोई चीज होती तो सोचते भी यार चलो बर्थडे मनाते हैं. अभी क्या बर्थडे मनाना है? 1 साल कब हो गया जिंदगी का? बूढ़े हो गए, राइट? अभी कुछ ज्यादा काम करने के बाद सोचना पड़ता है, पीठ दुख जाती है, दर्द होने लगता है घुटनों में, एटसेट्रा. It's not my birthday today. Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you. Everyone. Thank you so much. Means so much. I'm touched. Okay. Acha, all the students who are scared, all the students who are anxious, and everybody who's scared and who is crying, we'll hold a counseling session after the end of the lecture. How is it? Age is not a number when you cross 25. I mean, in my mind, I'm still 6, but how old am I? I will turn 28 this year. Yeah. So it's a lot. Okay. ऐसा करते हैं, वो सारे बच्चे जो बहुत दुखी हैं, रो रहे हैं, परेशान हैं, क्लास के एंड में सारा टाइम तुम्हारा. तुम सारी अपनी परेशानी सॉल्व करना मेरे साथ, मतलब डिस्कस करना. हम बात करेंगे इस बारे में, ठीक है? We'll talk. Don't worry. Everybody who's frustrated. Happy birthday in advance. No, I'm not shy about my age. Let's start. Yes, Nirmal is really anxious. Let us start, please. Let us start. Okay, so what all will be discussed? We shall be discussing international law. Now, what exactly is international law? Everybody understands that we countries, we as economies and countries are now independent finally. कॉलोनाइजेशन खत्म हो चुका है, ब्रिटिश अपने घर वापस जा चुके हैं, और बहुत सारे कॉलोनाइजर्स जो हुआ करते थे, व्हाइट पीपल, they have all returned home, and now everybody, all the countries in the world are independent. Along with the independence, wait, my screen is cutting, isn't it? My screen is not right. Wait, just give me a moment. Okay, this is not right. This should not happen. एक तो ये ट्रैक पैड काम नहीं कर रहा, ऊपर से मेरा सर कंटेंट को काट रहा है. ओ ओ ओ ओ ओ, बस इतना ठीक है. या नाउ इट वोंट. यस, मूविंग ऑन. विनायक, यू कैन वॉच द लेक्चर, मतलब पीछे से, ठीक है? हाँ, it's clear. Okay, right. So let's do it. So every country is now independent. हम सब आजाद हो चुके हैं, और आजादी के साथ साथ हमें बहुत सारी और भी चीजें मिली है. क्या? सोवरेनिटी, खुद को गवर्न करने की एक फ्रीडम. पहले जो भी हम करना चाहते थे या जिस भी तरह से हम जीना चाहते थे, उसकी फ्रीडम हमारे पास नहीं थी, क्योंकि एक फॉरेन पावर हमारे सर पे बैठी हुई थी, और वही हमारे लिए सब कुछ डिसाइड कर रही थी. हमें किस कंट्री के साथ ट्रेड करना है, वो फॉरेन पावर डिसाइड करती थी. हमें अपने देश में क्या ग्रो करना है, उस ग्रोथ, उस सारे के सारे क्रॉप में या उस सारी हार्वेस्ट में हमें अपने पास कितना रखना है, दूसरे देश को कितना बेचना है, ये हम नहीं डिसाइड करते थे, ये वो colonizers decide करते थे. So if we wanted to grow wheat and keep it all for ourselves, they didn't allow it. They exported it all to outside countries. तो ये फ्रीडम जो थी वो नहीं थी, डिस्क्रेशन नहीं था, देयर वाज नो लिबर्टी पर से. वी डिड नॉट हैव the liberty to live our life the way we wanted, and everybody was dealing with the same problem. After the independence, the countries did not just gain independence and freedom, they also became sovereign now that there was no foreign power ruling them. इनके पास सिर्फ आजादी नहीं है, इनके पास एक सोवरेनिटी भी आ गई. सोवरेनिटी का मतलब है ये अपने शासक खुद बन गए. अब सोचने वाली बात है, लेट्स से मैं एक एग्जांपल देती हूँ. आई एम सेटल्ड, आई एम अर्निंग, आई कैन मैनेज माय ओन सेल्फ, आई कैन गेट माय ओन हाउस, लिव द वे आई वांट. तो मेरे माता पिता का जो हक मुझ पे चलता था जब मैं छोटी थी, जब वो मुझे रेज कर रहे थे और मैं उन पे डिपेंडेंट थी, वो अब उतना नहीं चल सकता. माय मॉम कैन नॉट टेल मी everything now. I don't have to follow her, although this is the biggest lie ever. My mom tells me everything. बट एग्जाम्पल, तो मैं अपने पेरेंट्स पे अब उतना डिपेंडेंट नहीं हूं, तो मैं अपनी लाइफ को गवर्न कर सकती हूँ, मैं अपने डिसीजंस खुद ले सकती हूँ. मेरे लिए क्या सही है क्या नहीं है वो सब मैं खुद ही डिसाइड कर सकती हूँ, राइट. अब यहीं पे इंटरनेशनल लॉ आ जाता है. All the countries are independent. They get to decide what they want for their nation. They get to decide what laws they want. They get to decide what kind of country and government and what kind of freedoms do they want to give to their people. And this is what we call sovereignty. When there is no outside interference. जब तुम्हें बताने के लिए कोई नहीं बैठा कि देखो ये कर लो वो कर लो, नहीं, तुम्हें जो करना है वो तुम खुद करोगे. तुम्हें अगर चलता नहीं है, ये देश का नाम अच्छा नहीं लग रहा है, you want to change it to purple, you can do it because you have the liberty, the country is yours, है ना. अब यहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम आती है, since every nation is independent, every nation is, will this help in MHCT? Yes, it will. Okay, so you guys are answering on my behalf. That is so sweet. That is so sweet. You guys are the best. I sometimes get emotional by, when I see this thing. Who's overconfident? I'm not overconfident. Okay, Priyanka, of course, English and Hindi mix cannot be complete English, will not be complete Hindi. So whatever I'm saying in Hindi is a translation of what I've already said. So don't worry about it. I won't be adding anything when I speak in Hindi, Priyanka. Okay? Yes. Evening to you. So now, since every country is sovereign, their actions cannot be monitored. They cannot be supervised. So what if foreign power decides to invade us? What if China thinks that their territory is not large enough and they need to expand? And they start expanding and suddenly India becomes China. And all of us are not even Indians anymore. We are Chinese without resembling the people, the natives of China. We still are Chinese because now Chinese people are ruling it. Vicky, why are you getting offended? Don't be offended. It was just an example. Okay, don't be offended and don't focus on things that are not to be focused upon. Right? सेशन में मैंने और बहुत सारी चीजें कही हैं, तुम उस पे क्यों नहीं फोकस करते जो जरूरी है, और उस पे क्यों फोकस कर रहे हो जो बिल्कुल ही रेलेवेंट है. Right? It was just an example. I care for my parents. My mother decides everything that I do and where. So please do not get personal and not in my class. If you find it offensive, you are welcome to leave, buddy. Article 21, personal liberty. ठीक है, आप बिल्कुल क्लास से जाइए, आप वो क्लास अटेंड करिए जहां पे आपको ऑफेंसिव ना लगे फैकल्टी. ठीक है. यस. नाउ अब यहाँ पे if China wants to invade us, expand its territory, what can we do? We can wage a war, right? Obviously, we won't allow a foreign power to now colonize us or to, invade our territory or challenge our sovereignty. We'll challenge them back and there will be a war. In a war between two nations, the other nations will also suffer. Now, there are territories or countries which would be supporting China. Similarly, there would be countries which would be supporting India, right? And this small territory war will become a world war. Now, to control this situation, we need something or someone to tell us that this is not right and you should not do it. And this is somewhat like international law, right? So even when our parents, what they do for us, I'll still use the same example. So what parents do for us is now suggestion, because they care for their child, because they want their child not to deviate or adopt something or do something which might not be right. Obviously, taking their suggestions and implementing what they're telling us is of course a matter of choice. पेरेंट्स जो बता रहे हैं उसे फॉलो करना या ना करना एक इंडिविजुअल की पर्सनल चॉइस है, लेकिन ये उनका not duty per se, but it is what they do. They will tell you where you are going wrong. And this is what the role of international law is in the international sphere. So that we do not face the same situations such as the World War II and the World War I, where the entire world was involved in a war-like situation and people were starving. There were genocides, there were mass rapes, there was so much anarchy in the world that we cannot imagine. All of this was happening, and after that situation, everybody realized that there should be an authority, there should be a set of rules and regulations that would prevent this from happening again. And that is what the role of international law in the legal fraternity is. Got it? So the rules and norms or the rules and regulations that would determine international relations or relations between two nations or multiple nations is a branch of law that we call international law. दो कंट्रीज आपस में किस तरह से बिहेव करेंगी, उनके बीच में किस तरह का रिलेशन होगा, उनके बीच में अगर कोई ट्रीटी है तो वो किस तरह से गवर्न की जाएगी, अपने अपने लिए और दूसरे को डिस्टर्ब ना करके वो बेनिफिट को मैक्सिमाइज करके नुकसान को मिनिमाइज कैसे कर सकते हैं, यही लॉ की ब्रांच इंटरनेशनल लॉ कहलाता है. Did everybody understand? Any doubt whatsoever? Right. So international law is also divided into two subheads. We have a public international law and then we have a private international law. Now, private international law is for private international relations. For example, let's say there's a person who is an Indian resident, but he's working for a company in Texas. Now, the contract between that Indian man will be conducted with or will be formulated with a company which is based in Texas. तो ये जो रिलेशन है नेशनैलिटी की वजह से ये इंटरनेशनल हो गया है, क्योंकि ये कंपनी टेक्सास की है, यूएस की है, और ये इंसान जो है वो इंडिया का है. Right, so the contract will have two entities coming from different nations, but then these entities are private entities. So this kind of contract or the branch that would govern these kinds of private relations will be called private international law, right? और पब्लिक इंटरनेशनल लॉ वो रूल्स और नॉर्म्स हैं जो कि सोवरेन स्टेट्स के रिलेशंस को गवर्न करती हैं. ठीक है? Got it? Everyone? Any doubt whatsoever right now? Anybody? Before I move forward. Is it compulsory for countries to follow international law? You guys, absolutely not, buddy. International law is not binding. Like I said, the countries are sovereign. The countries are sovereign. We'll understand it. In the when we move into the lecture, when we dive deep, you'll understand what effect international law has on the entities. Right? Private international law is definitely mandatory because there are individual parties involved. But when it comes to public international law, it is not really mentioned. It's not really mandatory. Explain again. I'll explain it in Hindi. Do you want me to explain it in Hindi? चलो फिर से समझा देती हूँ. देखो, प्राइवेट इंटरनेशनल लॉ में के नाम में ही प्राइवेट है. द वर्ड इज प्राइवेट, राइट? तो प्राइवेट का मतलब होता है बच्चे, जब इंडिविजुअल एंटिटीज होती हैं, जब इंडिविजुअल एंटिटीज के बीच में किसी तरह का डिस्प्यूट होता है तो वो प्राइवेट हो जाता है, राइट। नाउ प्राइवेट इंटरनेशनल लॉ एक इस तरह का लॉ है जो एंटिटीज, इंडिविजुअल एंटिटीज के इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस को गवर्न करता है। जैसे कि लेट्स से कि एक कंपनी है, ट्रेडिंग कंपनी, जो कि कपड़े बनाती है, और ये कंपनी का हेडक्वार्टर है इंडिया में, ठीक है। अब इस कंपनी, ये जो कंपनी है वो फैब्रिक बनाने के लिए जो रॉ मटेरियल है, जो कॉटन है या थ्रेड है या जो भी कुछ है, वो खरीदते हैं बांग्लादेश से। तो अब इन दोनों, अब ये तो कंट्रीज हो गई, इन हम सॉरी कंपनीज की बात कर रहे हैं। तो एक कंपनी इंडिया की है और दूसरी कंपनी बांग्लादेश की है, लेकिन ये सोवरेन स्टेट्स नहीं है, दे आर नॉट कंट्रीज, दे आर कंपनीज, दे आर प्राइवेट कंपनीज। तो इन दोनों के बीच का जो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट होगा वो प्राइवेट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट होगा, और इस तरह के रिलेशनशिप को इंटरनेशनल, प्राइवेट इंटरनेशनल लॉ गवर्न करता है। जब इंडिविजुअल्स या फिर इंडिविजुअल एंटिटीज इन्वॉल्व होती हैं या फिर प्राइवेट एंटिटीज इन्वॉल्व होती हैं, राइट। और पब्लिक इंटरनेशनल लॉ का मतलब है कि एक ऐसी ब्रांच लॉ की जो दो कंट्रीज के बीच के रिलेशंस को गवर्न करता है, ठीक है। वॉर के दौरान उनका रिलेशन कैसा रहेगा, पीस के दौरान उनका रिलेशन कैसा रहेगा, डिप्लोमेसी में उनका रिलेशन कैसा रहेगा, इकोनॉमिक, ट्रेड इश्यूज, स्पेस लॉ एक्सेट्रा, ये सारे जो इश्यूज होते हैं वो दो कंट्रीज के बीच में होते हैं। और इस तरह की जो ब्रांच होती है दैट इज पब्लिक इंटरनेशनल लॉ। एनीवे वी नो दैट व्हाट प्राइवेट इज एंड व्हाट पब्लिक इज, राइट। अगर तुम ऐसे लेमैन एग्जांपल लेना चाहते हो तो let's say that केंद्रीय विद्यालय would be a public school because it's a government school, and you talk about any private school, let's say Manohar Bhushan, it's a private school run by a private person, so it's a private school, बिल्कुल सेम है, ठीक है। Yes, Devdata. Exactly like that. Your previous slide, Ria. Okay, all the students who are struggling with their practice and mock tests, please subscribe to the series. It is very important that you practice and you need to practice as much as possible. तो अगर तुमने सब्सक्राइब नहीं किया है और तुम अभी भी किताबों को लेकर कंफ्यूज हो, मैं कहाँ से प्रैक्टिस करूं, तो this is one stop solution for all your problems, right? Now, what are the sources of international law? The first is treaties. Let's say, uh, international law is important. Akshay, we discussed it in the beginning of the class, buddy. International law in theory is not important. They won't give you a passage on the definition of public international law. But they would, if they choose, they might take something which is of international relevance or international legal relevance from the newspaper or a magazine. अब उसको समझने के लिए, उस आर्टिकल को समझने के लिए, उस पैसेज को समझने के लिए तुम्हें पता होना चाहिए कि इंटरनेशनल लॉ है क्या। रामदास, अगर मैं ऑनेस्टली बताऊं तो 10 दिन में स्पीड अच्छी हो जाएगी। 10 days करो तो सही, तुम सिंसियरली मेहनत करो तो सही, डबल करो अपने एफर्ट को, 10 दिन में तुम्हारी स्पीड अच्छी हो जाएगी। 1 महीने में तो तुम बिल्कुल झंडे गाड़ दोगे यार, बिल्कुल टेंशन की जरूरत ही नहीं है। दैट्स एब्सोल्युटली फाइन। रिया, इनफैक्ट आवर नेक्स्ट सेशन इज गोइंग टू बी ऑन फैमिली लॉ, डोंट वरी। जो इसके अलावा जो नेक्स्ट सेशन है वो फैमिली लॉ पर है, तो आपको चिंता करने की एकदम जरूरत नहीं है। ओके गाइस, यस। Okay, so I have forgot to plug my PC and it's running low on power. Please give me a moment. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Should have taken care of it, but completely forgot. Yes. Now treaties. अब देखो सोचने वाली बात है. Law comes from somewhere, right? Where do you think? All the best, Komal. Where do you think we derived our Hindu law from? Did the government really decide कि भाई शादी इस तरह से होगी? Okay. So let's say that yeah. So in Hindu Marriage Act, the definition of Hindu marriage is given, and the definition says that if people coming from Hindu religion, a man, adult woman from the same religion, which is Hinduism, they take Saat Feras and do Saptapadi. They are bound by Hindu marriage. They will be declared married according to or as per Hindu Marriage Act. Now, how do we know कि भाई ये आया कहाँ से आए? Where do you think this law came from? The practice of dividing property between children equally, or the practice of not dividing properties between children equally, or the practice of marrying one person in a certain way. Where do you think we got it from? Old practices. Very good, Anushka. Anybody else? Customs and traditions. Very good, Sayyada. Customs and traditions. So we had customs which were being followed by people of that religion for centuries. And when the time came to formulate a law that would govern their religious choices, or something that a religious practice would govern, or something that would be monitored as per the religion that they come from, they use the same customary practices, customs and traditions. उन्हीं को यूज करके एक लॉ में फॉर्मुलेट कर दिया, और उस लॉ को कहा गया पर्सनल लॉ, जो कि शरिया हो सकता है, या फिर हिंदू लॉ हो सकता है, या फिर सिक्स के लिए जो लॉ है वो हो सकता है, क्रिश्चियन मैरिज एक्ट, पारसी मैरिज एक्ट. So all of these personal laws have been taken, or have been, the source of these laws is customs and traditions, right? Customs को follow करके, और उन्हीं customs को जो सालों से सदियों से follow हो रहे थे, उन्हीं को use करके law बना दिया कि चलो ये follow कर रहे थे, यही अब तुम्हारा law है, right? तो law को बनाने के पीछे बहुत सारे sources होते हैं. It doesn't just come from, what should I say? It doesn't get created just like that. It is not a thought that comes to a person's mind कि there should be a law. No, it is generally a practice that has been followed over the years and later is formalized or codified into a formal structure, right? So in international law, there hasn't been a customary practice. Obviously, there was no custom that was governing relation between two countries, but then there was treaties, or there were conventions or agreements that determined the relationship between two countries, or two countries in the same continent, or two countries in the different continent, or the countries who are involved in a trade by water, or who are involved in a trade by road. So they had sort of agreements beforehand, and these agreements were later transferred into international law, that this kind of treaty will be this kind of law, or the roads or relationship or trade relation through roads, or trade relations through water, or trade relations through air that we have been doing for so long. हम दोनों के बीच की पर्सनल ट्रीटी है सर, हम दोनों सड़क से जुड़े हुए हैं, और हम सड़क के थ्रू इस तरह से ट्रेड करते हैं. अरे ये तो बड़ी अच्छी बात है. क्या कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है तुम्हारा? दिस इज द कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, ये लिखा हुआ, ये अच्छा कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है, इसको फॉर्मुलाइज कर देते हैं. सुनो सुनो, ये जो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट बना है इन दो कंट्रीज ने अच्छा है, इनके टर्म्स कंडीशंस अच्छे हैं, इनको जनरलाइज कर दो, बन गया लॉ. ठीक है? So treaties or relations or formal agreements between two nations is one of the source of international law. Okay, got it? Yes. Now we have customs. Again, customs, general practice that is adopted by law. In international law, generally there are very, very less customary practices, very few, because the trade relations are not that old. They did not start, although we did have trade relations, or Harappan civilizations, or Mohenjo-daro, they had trade relations with Mesopotamia and all those civilizations, but then ये तो cultures extinct हो गए. तो अभी उनको follow करने के लिए, या उनको there is nothing to look for, or there is nothing to look up to. So the customs are really not a source or a significant source of international law, but treaties is one of the most important source of international law. Then the general principles. See, have you heard that old saying that if two people, if we have the same enemy, we can be friends automatically? Do you remember that old saying? अगर तुम्हारा और मेरा दुश्मन एक है तो फिर हम दोनों दोस्त हैं, right? It's a very old saying. So there are basically, what I'm trying to say is, there are some principles which are, generalized, which everybody thinks are good, which everybody thinks are bad. So all the nations would treat murder as a crime. All the nations would not condone genocide. No nation would condone genocide. कोई भी नेशन रेप को, जेनोसाइड को, मर्डर को, थेफ्ट को या रॉबरी को कंडोन नहीं कर सकता, क्योंकि ये प्रैक्टिसेस सही नहीं है. Right? So the practices which are uniformly accepted as good and bad by all the nations are called general principles. And these general principles have another name, and we call them jus cogens. That's a Latin international maxim. Jus cogens. The practices which are inherently so bad that every nation has declared it to be a bad practice. Nobody accepts it. And that kind of practice is called a jus cogen. दुश्मन का दुश्मन दोस्त होता है. ट्रीटीज का मतलब होता है बेटा, ट्रीटीज बेसिकली कॉन्ट्रैक्ट होता है दो कंट्रीज के बीच में, उसको ट्रीटी कहते हैं. दो पार्टीज के बीच में कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है, लेकिन अगर दो कंट्रीज बन जाए पार्टीज, ए कंट्री बी कंट्री, तो उस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट को कॉन्ट्रैक्ट नहीं कहते, क्योंकि वो एक बड़ी चीज है. राइट? अब कंट्री कौन है, मतलब ऐसा तो है नहीं कोई इंसान है जिसका नाम कंट्री है. राइट? कंट्रीज तो लोगों से बनती है, और हम लोग तो नहीं करते वो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. अभी लेट्स से कि इंडिया और बांग्लादेश के बीच में कोई ट्रीटी हो गई. अब वो इंडिया और बांग्लादेश की ट्रीटी को फॉलो कौन करेगा? हमें करनी पड़ेगी. राइट? लेकिन हमने तो एंटर भी नहीं किया. तो ये इस तरह का कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है जो एंटर ना किए भी तुम पर अप्लाई हो जाता है. सो दैट इज कॉल्ड अ ट्रीटी. राइट? Just cogens, COGENS. I'll repeat it. Just cogens is a practice that is uniformly rejected or declared to be a bad practice or a hated practice by all the countries. Mansi, I'm not sure. 90 minutes. No, 90 minutes chalegi class. Okay? So these are the treaties that India is a party to. Convention on Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination, International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination against Women, United Nations Convention on the Law of Sea, Rights of the Child, Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. बहुत सारी ट्रीटीज हैं, इन सबको याद रखने की जरूरत नहीं है. यू डोंट हैव टू रिमेंबर दीज ट्रीटीज. नाउ वन ऑफ अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन, हाउ इज इंटरनेशनल लॉ अडॉप्टेड? International law is not binding, of course we know it. We cannot make, or there is no superpower. For example, let's say America makes a law and then that law applies on everybody. Won't that make America an invader or a colonizer? उसने लॉ बनाया और वो यूनिफॉर्मली सारी कंट्रीज फॉलो करेंगी. क्यों करेंगी भाई? तुम कौन होते हो हमें बताने वाले? अगर हम लॉ बनाएंगे तो तुम फॉलो करोगे? नहीं करोगे. राइट? तो कोई भी ऐसी, देयर इज नो इंडिपेंडेंट पावर और देयर इज नो नेशन दैट कैन क्रिएट अ लॉ व्हिच वुड बी फॉलोड बाय एवरीबॉडी इन द वर्ल्ड. राइट? सो हाउ इज international law even followed? We have a branch of law, we are studying it, it is important for the exam. There's an entire subject in law, international relation, international law. There's a book this thick on international law. So how is it that we follow it if it is not mandatory? We cannot murder somebody because we know there's a penalty involved. But if there is no penalty, if we, if we do something against a nation, तो क्या होगा? How will international law be applied? Can anybody tell me? Anybody has an idea? Arzu, towards the end, of course. All personal problems in the end. Happy to help. Can anybody tell me, any idea how international law is even adopted or, followed by the nations, those which are independent and sovereign in themselves? War, United Nations. ICJ. I'll tell you. Do you see those treaties? So these treaties basically are contracts created by the United Nations, right? These are the contracts created by United Nations. Now, the countries become parties to these treaty. They sign on the treaty. But it doesn't mean that the treaty would be now a law for them. No. What they do is, in order to enforce this treaty, they create a law in their own country which is suited to their people. इस तरह से international law apply. Okay, this is how international law is applied. So let's say that UN passes a treaty, or UN, uh, makes a contract or declares a contract and invites everyone to decide whether or not to be a party on it, right? So let's talk about Convention on the Rights of the Child. So India becomes a party to the treaty. India has signed or ratified the treaty, and it accepts that even children should have rights. Now, in order to formulate or in order to enforce the treaty, what will India do? India will start creating laws for the protection of child, such as POCSO, right? Now, child needs to be protected against sexual harassment. So they will create laws that would enforce the treaty, but then they would do it in their own way. ट्रीटी वैसे की वैसी नहीं लग जाएगी कंट्री पे या लोगों पे, जो कंट्री के लोग हैं, नहीं, ये जो गवर्नमेंट है उस ट्रीटी को एनफोर्स करने के लिए एक लॉ बना देगी. जैसे कन्वेंशन ऑन द राइट्स ऑफ द चाइल्ड को एनफोर्स करने के लिए पॉक्सो बना, राइट? या फिर 86th अमेंडमेंट आ गया, वो 86th अमेंडमेंट से बच्चों को एजुकेशन का राइट दे दिया, उसको फंडामेंटल ड्यूटी में भी डाल दिया कि भाई बच्चों का राइट है पढ़ना, माँ बाप का भी राइट है उन्हें पढ़ाना, और स्टेट का भी राइट है उन्हें मेक श्योर करना कि वो पढ़ रहे हैं. फिर पॉक्सो डाल दिया कि वो बच्चे वल्नरेबल हैं, खुद को प्रोटेक्ट नहीं कर सकते, तो उनको प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए एक लॉ होना चाहिए. सेक्सुअल हरासमेंट बच्चों के खिलाफ भी हो सकता है, उसको पीनलाइज करने के लिए देयर शुड बी अ सेपरेट लॉ, राइट? जुवेनाइल्स को आप ऐसे पनिश नहीं कर सकते हो. आप यू कैन नॉट जस्ट decide that a child is a criminal and throw him in the jail and destroy all chances of redemption once and for all. No, you need to have a separate law which can redeem those children, which can bring them back from the life of crime and make them civilized citizens. So all the laws basically that are created enforcing the treaty is how an international law is enforced. Okay, because a country's government would understand the needs of their people better. A foreign power or a foreign organization cannot decide what Indian people want. They don't know what we want. They don't know what kind of crimes are happening in our country. But our government knows. Our government knows what kind of rights our children need. It's a third world country. Education needs to be a fundamental right. क्योंकि हर बच्चा यहाँ पढ़ा हुआ नहीं है. Literacy rate उतना ज़्यादा नहीं है. But if you go to developed nations such as Switzerland or New Zealand or nations like this, literacy rate is pretty high. They don't need to enforce any law on the education. It's not mandatory, Sonal. It's not mandatory. It's not mandatory. It's always a choice. It's a choice. But the practice or, courtesy says that you should sign on it if you think it is important. Okay. So India is a party to all those treaties, and to enforce these treaties, we have enforced several laws. Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities is the treaty which allowed the government to introduce reservation even for people who are disabled. Now there's a separate law, there's a separate act which determines what kind of rights these people have, and the disabilities which would give them a right to avail reservation, right? So there are many treaties which we have become a party to, and we have several laws enforcing the treaties. What is the use of signing a treaty? Why can't you make laws? Basically, all the nations come together. There are debates and discussions. So all of them come together and they highlight a problem. For example, United Nations has people working for it all over the nation. So they're visiting third world nation, they're visiting developed nations, and they figure out problems. This is a major problem that a third world country faces: employment, education, etc. And this is the reason why a third world country remains a third world country. Now, what do? We will enforce a treaty. There would be a debate in which you become a party to the treaty. Our people will help you eradicate the problem, and to do it or to make it more efficient so that we can work more efficiently, you introduce a law also. So that's how it works. Yes, same situation raised. Is the rest sub judice important to read? Yes, you can read it for your understanding. The Charter of United Nations. What exactly is the Charter of United Nations? Charter of United Nations basically is a charter which helps settle the international dispute. So it's more like a law, or it is more like the Constitution of United Nations, which talk about United Nations, the Constitution of it, the Security Council, all the other major wings of United Nations, and what they would do in a certain situation, right? So like constitution, why do we have a law of land? We have a law of land so that we know what we are doing, so that everybody knows their powers, so that bureaucracy knows what kind of powers it has, so that the constitutional body knows the number of people they can hire and their duties and their roles and responsibilities. Similarly, the Charter of United Nations work the same way. There are organizations. Within that organization there are wings. United Nations, there are 5 major wings of United Nations, or 6 basically. I keep forgetting. Security Council, etc. Right, so General Assembly, Security Council, ECOSOC, trusteeship, it's no longer there. So how will these be constituted? How many members? What would be the constitution? Will they be elected? Will they be permanent? Will they be temporary? What kind of uh, per countries would be there? What work would these organizations be doing? All these things are discussed in the Charter of United Nations. Now, United Nations Charter is not important here right now, but everybody who is aspiring to be a judge in UP, Uttar Pradesh, you have to read the charter. Okay, tip in advance. You have to read the charter. Now, International Court of Justice, not important from a philosophical point of view, but important from a general knowledge point of view. So it is also known as the World Court. It was founded in 1946. It has 15 judges which are elected on a 9-year term basis. Like a judge remains a judge for 9 years, and the appointment or the election is done by UN General Assembly and UN Security Council. So the members of General Assembly and the members of Security Council, both permanent and temporary. Security Council doesn't just have the permanent members, it also has temporary members. So the temporary members of and the permanent members of Security Council and the members of General Assembly come together and vote for a particular person who is a representative of his own nation, and that person then represents his nation in the International Court of Justice. Right? So there are 15 judges, 9-year term, appointment election. I've already told you, judges cannot be, all 15 judges have to be from different countries. Okay, 15 judges, 15 countries. So 2 people cannot be from the same nation. Okay, can anybody tell me the headquarters of ICJ? Anybody? Nobody? Nobody can tell me the headquarters of ICJ, International Court of Justice? Seriously? किसी को नहीं मालूम? हेग. हेग में आईसीजे का हेडक्वार्टर हेग में है. यस, हेग में. हेग का है? नेदरलैंड्स. इट्स इन हेग. यू नीड टू रिमेंबर दिस. ये इंपॉर्टेंट है. ठीक है. International Criminal Court. This is a permanent international court which prosecutes for crimes that are committed against humanity. So it doesn't just punish a nation altogether. एक country को नहीं सजा मिलती है. But the person who was responsible in uprooting that nation and committing crimes against that nation. For example, let's say there is a person who was a supreme leader of that country and he exploited the position and ordered mass genocide. Now that person would be prosecuted by International Criminal Court. Or he didn't just kill people from his country, he killed people from another country as well. So he is responsible, or he will be prosecuted for international crimes, and he will be tried by the International Criminal Court. Because then everybody would be fighting for him. For example, let's say there is a person who has committed crimes in his country. He was a leader. He ordered genocide in his country and genocides in other countries. His people were going killing other peoples in the country, and he waged war against small nations, terrorized them, raped their women, looted. Yeah, a lot of things. Now, after the war is over and let's say the person is caught, every country would be fighting to prosecute that man. No, he killed our people more. He killed 15 of your people, but he killed 25 in our country. So we'll prosecute him. Another country would say he didn't just kill in our country, he also looted and raped our women. So we will try him, not you. उसने हमारे यहाँ ज्यादा गंदगी फैलाई. अब यहाँ पे सबके बीच में झगड़ा हो जाएगा. तो एक न्यूट्रल बॉडी आती है जो उस आदमी को प्रोसिक्यूट करेगी. ना तुम करोगे, ना तुम करोगे, ना तुम करोगे, तुम सबके बिहाफ पे हम करेंगे. एंड दैट इज द इंटरनेशनल क्रिमिनल कोड. या you do answer Vibhu. Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. So to prosecute individuals who commit genocide, war crimes, and crime against humanity are tried in International Criminal Court. Now, what is the composition? This is also given in the UN Charter. So the court has 18 judges, unlike ICJ, which has 15 judges, and they are elected by state parties for a term of 9 years. A judge shall remain in office until the trial gets completed or an appeal which has already begun. So even if his tenure goes beyond 9 years, जैसे let's say I am a judge in International Criminal Court, काश मेरे मुंह पे सरस्वती बैठ जाए जबान पे, और मेरे सिर्फ 2 years बचे हैं रिटायरमेंट में और एक मैटर फ्रेश आ जाता है जिसमें मैं बेंच में हूँ, तो जब तक वो मैटर खत्म नहीं हो जाता तब तक मैं जज बनी रहूंगी. ठीक है, तो जिसने मैटर को शुरुआत में ट्राई किया था वो जज एंड तक उस मैटर को लेकर जाता है. टू वर्ड कंफ्यूज्ड मैम. व्हाट? you're answering. ठीक है, चलो. No two judge, again the same principle, judges cannot be from the same country. एक ही country से 2 judges नहीं हो सकते. ओके, इंटरनेशनल लॉ में इतना ही काफी है. कुछ चीजें तुम लोग होमवर्क में नोट कर लो, उसको लिख लेना, मतलब उसको नोट कर लेना. हाउ मेनी मेंबर्स आर देयर इन सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल, ये एक इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है, द नंबर. एंड हाउ मेनी मेंबर्स आर देयर इन, एक सेकेंड जस्ट, yes. So main bodies, the main bodies of UN, you should know the chairman. You should know the chairman and or the person who is heading the body. So you should know who is heading General Assembly. You should know who is heading Security Council. You should know who is heading ECOSOC or Economic and Social Council or the Trusteeship Council. In National Court of Justice में कोई chair नहीं होता शायद. Secretariat को कौन head कर रहा है, right? तो ये सब जानिए. और जो बड़े बड़े organizations है जैसे कि यूनेस्को और ILO or UNICEF, so where are the headquarters of these organizations situated? The main working, हाँ 5 परमानेंट है, 10 नॉन परमानेंट है. वेरी गुड. 15 मेंबर्स हैं टोटल, जिसमें से 5 परमानेंट है और 10 टेम्पररी है. बिल्कुल बिल्कुल सही बात है. ठीक है, तो जब the bodies which are working for United Nations such as UNICEF, UNESCO, etc., where are the headquarters located? नाम देके पता चल जाता है important है कि नहीं, क्योंकि अगर if you are familiar with the name, for example, everybody knows what UNICEF is or what UNESCO is because you keep on reading about these organizations in newspapers. So the relevance would be as per the newspaper or the current event. If there has been an organization which is in talk, you need to understand or you need to remember the headquarters of that. न्यूज़पेपर में अगर यूनिसेफ का थोड़ा सा भी जिक्र आ गया तो तुम्हें पता होना चाहिए कि यूनिसेफ का हेडक्वार्टर कहाँ है. ठीक है, समझ गए? एवरीबडी अंडरस्टूड? दिस इज योर होमवर्क. नहीं, यूएन के टोटल मेंबर्स पता याद रखने की जरूरत नहीं है. हम्म. चलो, अब आईपीआर क्या है? व्हाट इज आईपीआर? एनीबडी? व्हाट इज इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी राइट? What is intellectual property right, guys? You're right. देर से आता है. Answers देर से आते हैं. Intellectual property rights basically is a law that protects what you have created through your mind. Okay, so you know how the world advanced, or how we came from that to this, how we started walking on two legs. Now we don't even walk, we drive everywhere, we Uber everywhere. I Uber everywhere. So how did that happen? How is it that instead of writing letters, we are actually talking to people on a video call? Now we can actually see if they're lying on our faces. So if I called a person 10 years back and I asked him, where are you? And he said, I'm at home. But he is not at home. He's doing something else. Today I can know where he is, if he's lying, if he's telling me the truth. How did we come from there to this situation where we have access to everything on our palms? We can access everything, we can access every information. The entire world's information is right in our palms. How did that happen? It happened because somebody was really intelligent. Somebody was really creative. There was a man who decided that instead of walking for kilometers, we can just create something that can take us, and he invented wheel. There was a man who figured out that instead of eating raw food and then dying in the age of 18, we can cook that food, sterilize it, kill all the germs, and then eat. And instead of living on trees so that we can protect us against wild animal or wilderness, the dangerous wilderness, we can just use fire and scare those animals away. Right? So these were the people who were extremely intelligent and they were advanced and their mind was working at a very intense speed. Now, when these people think something, when these people or these kind of people create something, that creation advances the world. And that creation is not should not just be beneficial to the world. It should also give them something. The man who invented wheel, or the man who figured out the use of fire, he didn't invent fire, but the man who discovered fire should be, his name should be embodied on a wall somewhere, and we should be worshipping him, because that's where our development began from. Right? तो अब ये सब, अगर एक आदमी को, let's say that a person creates a medicine that cures cancer. Now that person is a genius. He has created, or he's given life to the entire world. Now the world is benefiting because of his invention, but shouldn't he be benefited? He must have worked really hard, created a cure for something that was incurable for years, decades, centuries, right? Right. So even in the era when Christianity was, in the developmental phase, there cancer was still there, and it was called canker. So it has been a problem from since time immemorial. So if a person finds a cure for it, we should give him a benefit too, because his mind has created it. So the benefit or the security that you give to a person so that he gets creative and the world advances is given by intellectual property rights. Very simple. ओके, बहुत सारी कहानी सुना दी मैंने, पर तुम समझते हो। दिमाग से अगर तुमने कुछ क्रिएट किया है तो तुम खुल के करो, तुम्हारी क्रिएटिविटी को गवर्नमेंट प्रोटेक्ट करेगी। तुम अगर कुछ पहिए से बेटर बेटर बनाना चाहते हो तो बनाओ, या तुम उड़ती हुई कार बनाना चाहते हो बनाओ, हम तुम्हें पूरी की पूरी फ्रीडम देंगे। और ये उड़ती हुई कार बनाने की जो टेक्नोलॉजी है, उसके लिए हम तुम्हें रिवॉर्ड भी करेंगे, ताकि लोग एनकरेज हों और बेहतर चीजें बनाएं, कि वो उड़ती हुई कार हवा से चल रही है, पेट्रोल और डीजल का इस्तेमाल ही नहीं किया जा रहा। Right? So to protect or to give encouragement so that people get creative and the world and the economy is advanced is done by intellectual property rights. Whatever you have created through your mind, whatever you have created using your intelligence, your creativity, your aptitude, etc., is your property. And that is what we call intellectual property, a property that your intellect has created. And you have a complete right on it. तो उसको उसके थ्रू अगर आप इनकम गेन करना चाहते हैं, ये आपका पर्सनल चॉइस है. अगर आप उसे बांट देना चाहते हैं, यू डोंट वांट टू हैव एनी कमर्शियल बेनिफिट फ्रॉम इट, इट्स अगेन योर डिस्क्रेशन, right? So everything that you decide to do with the property that your intellect has created is your personal volition, and that is what IPR gives to us. Rights dealing with basic construction of human intelligence, such as artistic, literary, technical, or scientific constructions. Okay. Now, what are the subject matters of IPR? These are the subject matters. Trademarks, marks, commercial names, designation, inventions in all fields of human endeavors, industrial designs, protection against unfair competition, all other rights resulting from intellectual activity in industrial, scientific, literary, or artistic fields, literary, artistic, etc., discoveries, performance, phonograms, broadcasts, and that's it. We don't need an international definition. The international definition, however, is given by World Intellectual Property Organization. Okay, this is the need. I've already explained the need of IPR. Let's just move over to the legislations that we have in our country. Copyright Act, Patents Act, Trademark Act, Geographical Indication of Goods Registration and Protection, Designs Act, Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers' Rights Act 2001. Now the questions. Somebody was asking me something like patent, trademark. Yes, Priyanka, which deals with intangible assets. Very good, Priyanka. So you're asking me. I have a list. Tentative date for 23 is, I think, April. Last, towards the end of April. No. Sorry, towards the end of June. April तो 22 में था ना, इस साल 22 अप्रैल में हुआ था, अगले साल जून में हो सकता है. Do you have to study subjects like chemistry and bio for CLAT? Oh no, Divyata, not at all. Abhay has answered, not at all. You don't have to, fortunately. Okay, you just need to study the syllabus that is given to you by the consortium. If they don't want you to have, or they don't require you to have a scientific background or an aptitude, because you are going to do law. So science की जरूरत ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं होती है. Okay. Now let's move ahead. Copyright. Basic समझेंगे. We won't dive too deep. So copyright basically is a right that protects an expression. So if your artistic mind is at work. Now arts is not drawing on the piece of paper or painting. There are several forms of art. Dancing is an art, singing is an art, painting, sculpting, or even, decorating the house in a certain manner is an art. Everything that your creative brain creates, or everything that your artistic brain creates, is an art. So the way you dance, or the way you, deck up somebody else, makeup is an art. Dancing, I've already said. Makeup is an art, or what should I say? Designing is an art. Creating clothes for a person is an art. Creating belts for a person is also an art. So everything that you create using the artistic side of your mind will be protected by a copyright. Okay, that is what copyright is. Now, in order to obtain a copyright, you don't have to apply. You don't have to apply to a certain department and then seek a copyright on your poem or something. You can just create something and, mention a C in a circle and you are done. That's your copyright. Ayush, that's absolutely fine. My trackpad is not working. That's why I'm not writing at all. Legal videos created by me is an art. Oh my God. Sure, I should get a copywriter. I'm actually disseminating a general idea. My expression is might be interesting. You might find it nice. But what I'm teaching is already a general idea. It's public, it's gazette, it's law. So we cannot obtain a copyright on it, right? Hmm. So, real, like I said, everybody understood? Artistic expression को protect करने के लिए जो law है, वो copyright law है. तो अगर आप आर्टिस्टिक हैं और कुछ पेंट करते हैं भाई ब्यूटीफुल सा, या आप आर्टिस्टिक हैं कुछ लिख लेते हैं, पोएम लिख लेते हैं, या फिर कोई ड्रामा लिख लेते हैं जिसको थिएटर में मूवी बना दिया जाता है, सॉरी थिएटर में ड्रामा बना दिया जाता है या मूवी बना दी जाती है, या फिर उस पर कोई गाना लिख लेता है, तो ये हर चीज जो कि आपके एक्सप्रेशन को डिनोट करती है, एक्सप्रेशन ऑफ आइडियाज थ्रू एनी आर्टिस्टिक मैनर, चाहे वो डांसिंग हो, सिंगिंग हो, मूवी हो, ड्रामा हो, वो सब कॉपीराइट प्रोटेक्ट करता है. You need not go to a specialized office and obtain it like a license. No, it is automatic. You create something and it gets, it gets enforced immediately. But since it is automatic, it is temporary also. Copyright exists till you are alive, and it would exist even after your death, but only through for a certain time. और copyright basically the duration is dependent. Like music का अलग copyright duration है. अगर कपड़े पे कुछ print कर दिया तो उसका अलग copyright duration है. जैसे कि तुमने देखे होंगे चलता हुआ जो टाइगर है वो मसावा प्रिंट कहलाता है. मसावा हैज अ कॉपीराइट ऑन इट, दैट नीना गुप्ता's daughter, राइट? सो इट इज ओनली टेम्पररी, क्योंकि सोचने वाली बात है, एनी एक्सप्रेशन इज नॉट kept private generally. So if I've created a music, or let's say R.D. Burman created a music, he did not keep it in his library forever. He disseminated it to the entire world to hear. After a certain while, everybody knows about it. Everybody knows about it. So it is in the public domain. There is no point of keeping it a secret or keeping it protected, because everybody has it. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows the lyrics of your word, of your song. हर किसी को पता है, हर किसी को समझ आ गया है तुम्हारा गाना, हर किसी को लिरिक्स याद हो गए हैं, तो वो पब्लिक डोमेन की प्रॉपर्टी बन गई है, अब वो प्राइवेट प्रॉपर्टी नहीं रही. ठीक है? तो कॉपीराइट का जो एग्जिस्टेंस होता है वो लिमिटेड टाइम के लिए होता है, बट डिफरेंट आइडियाज, डिफरेंट कॉपीराइट ड्यूरेशन. आर्टिस्टिक फॉर्म जो कि राइटिंग फॉर्म में है, या पोएम्स हैं, या फिर बुक्स हैं, या फिर their stories or novels or books or something like that, they have longer copyright duration. But if it is a design on a piece of paper or a piece of cloth, right? So like Masaba print, for example, then they expire at some time if you don't have a proper, what should I say, paperwork for it. तरह से चलती हैं चीजें. You can increase the duration. जैसे let's say 15-20 साल तक था तुम्हारा कॉपीराइट, अभी वो एक्सपायर हो गया, तो अब इस ऑटोमेटिक एक्सपायरी के बाद फिर तुम्हें ऑफिस जाना पड़ेगा उसको रिन्यू करवाने के लिए. That's how it works. But you don't have to know about how it works. You just need to know what exactly is copyright. You like makeup on your mother face, different design. Tony Kakkar doesn't need to copyright his song. He doesn't need to copyright. I don't want to say anything. पता चला कल को मेरे ऊपर ही मीम बन गया और सामने बगल में टोनी कक्कड़ है और वो बेचारा दुखी बैठा हुआ है. So would you ever sing a ढिंचक पूजा song? दिलों का शूटर है मेरा स्कूटर. Would you ever sing it in a public setting? But there are people who like his songs, so I won't criticize him. Everybody has their own expressions, no matter how bad it is. But expression is a freedom under Article 19, so we cannot really say anything. We shouldn't say anything. Now we have patent. What exactly is patent? Anybody who will ever try to, but that's my point exactly, Abhay. Who will try to infringe it? नहीं यार मैंने लिखा है गाना, चुप तू ही रख ले, तू ही रख ले. मुझे एसोसिएट ही नहीं होना, मैं चाहता ही नहीं कि लोगों को पता चले कि मैं ऐसी अजीब तरह की चीज भी क्रिएट कर सकता हूँ. So yeah, that's like that. Now, can anybody tell me what patent is? Anybody? Ownership, of course. We're talking about intellectual property rights. So we're talking about ownership anyway. What kind of ownership does patent grant? Or what kind of things patent grants ownership upon? To protect certain inventions. Very good, Devdata. So like I said, when you create something using the artistic side of your brain, you get a copyright. But when you create something using the scientific side of your brain, so artistic side, what, for example, the world gets colorful through copyrights. So if we have new books, new songs, new movies, the world is a good place to live in. We get entertained, right? It's colorful. It creates happiness. But then inventions give something entirely different to the world. It gives us advancement. It takes us a step further, राइट तो ये जो पेटेंट होता है ये साइंटिफिक इन्वेंशंस पे दिया जाता है सो इफ यू create something using your scientific aptitude and that invention which did not exist in the world before, okay, so you are inventing something using the scientific aptitude, so that invention, if it does not exist before, you have created it, you can obtain a patent on it, so that a commercial production or the commercial use of that invention will be limited to you. Now, unlike copyright, patent is not automatic. Why? There's a reason. अब लेट्स से टोनी कक्कड़ ने गाना लिख दिया, ठीक है, अभी टोनी कक्कड़ का गाना बहुत बेकार सा है, लेट्स से टोनी कक्कड़ को नहीं बदनाम करते, ढेंचक पूजा पे आ जाते हैं, ये डेफेमेशन का केस ना लगाते वो मुझ पे, है ना, तो कुछ और, लेट्स टॉक अबाउट अ नॉर्मल पर्सन who has written an awful book, like a horrible book. अब उस horrible book से लोगों का क्या बिगड़ेगा, ज्यादा से ज्यादा टाइम वेस्ट हो जाएगा, है ना. Let's say I read a book and I was like, क्या बकवास बुक थी यार, कहीं की ईट कहीं का रोड़ा, भानुमति ने कुनबा जोड़ा. It was a time waste. Why did I even read it? Right? So the maximum that it. Sayyada, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll keep a track on this portal too. Okay. You are helping me, sweetheart. Thank you so much. You are so sweet. Don't have words for you. Hi. Yeah, so Abhi, the maximum that would happen to you is your time would be wasted, but nothing. It won't affect you financially. It won't affect your health, right? It doesn't do anything tangible to a person or any harmful effect, or there's no tangible harmful effect through a copyright. But if medicine goes wrong, or if an invention goes wrong, it can create or it can cause devastation. It can cause devastation, right? So that is the reason why copyright doesn't need a proper license. You don't have to go someplace to, apply for the license. You, however, have to license your patent. So you go to the appropriate authority and you have a license on the invention. They look at the invention. They say if it really is an invention, you're the first person to create it, did not exist before, and you're the first to think about it. They will give you a license. Now only you can create more of it. इन्वेंशन एक आदमी तक तो सीमित नहीं रह जाती है. लेट्स से कि मैंने एयर फ्रायर मैंने इन्वेंट किया ना, एयर फ्रायर वो इज अ ब्यूटीफुल इन्वेंशन, बहुत ही बढ़िया इन्वेंशन है. अभी एयर फ्रायर को मैंने इन्वेंट करके मैं उसे पर्सनली यूज कर रही हूँ, तो इतनी सारी मेहनत का क्या फायदा, है ना, क्या फायदा. लेकिन उस एयर फ्रायर को इन्वेंट करके मैंने पेटेंट करा लिया और फिर उस पेटेंट को मैंने बेच दिया मल्टीपल कंपनीज को, भाई बनाओ, और जितना भी तुम प्रोडक्ट्स बेचोगे उसका एक सर्टेन परसेंट मेरे पास आना चाहिए, राइट. अब मुझे फायदा हो गया. So a person to fund his research or to commercialize his research may sell his patent to a private company or to the government depending on his discretion. Okay? Got it? So you don't patent an idea or a principle, you patent an invention. Now trademark. What exactly is a trademark? Trademark basically is an origination point. No, Sayada, I definitely understood what you meant, Sayada. Absolutely no offense taken. No offense. I'm not sensitive like that. Okay, मैं बिल्कुल समझ गई आप क्या कह रहे थे. अब trademark क्या होता है? So let's say there are two products, right? There are two products. Now one has 3 lines and one has a check mark on it. Now because of these two symbols, you know who has created them. You know which company do they come from, and this mark is called a trademark. So a mark which differentiates a generic product and it tells you the identity of the manufacturer is called a trademark. Yes, like Nike sign, the check, the Puma of the Puma, the three lines of Adidas. I don't know what Reebok sign is. I think it has three leaves, right? No, or is that Adidas? That's Adidas. I think I got it wrong. Adidas का शायद leaves हैं और Reebok के lines हैं. जो भी है, मतलब you get what I'm saying. ठीक है? That is a trademark. Like the tilted B of BYJU'S, which is purple in color. Very good. Yes, that's a trademark, Devdrita. Yeah. Symbol or a logo, which tells you the company's name or the origination of that product. Half-eaten apple, the company, right? Yes, you get it. Very good. So the objective, it identifies the product. Now, if you know that the shoe is created by the Nike, you know it is a good product, right? So the trademark basically ensures the quality and the goodwill that the company has created over the years. So if you're buying a Nike shoe or a shoe which has a tick mark on it, you automatically get, satisfied that the product is going to be good. It will last long. I can use it roughly. It will not tear down. मतलब ऐसा नहीं कि आज मैंने दुकान से जूता उठाया और मैंने पहन के मैं उसे घर तक गया और उसके 6 टुकड़े हो गए, मैं नंगे पैर आया घर तक. तो ऐसा नहीं होगा, because you trust the brand, you trust the company, you trust their product and the quality that they use, right? And this is what a mark does. That symbol tells you that. The symbol tells you everything about the product. You trust the goodwill or the satisfaction or the, what should I say, the personal belief that the company has created through its quality is distinguished with the help of a trademark. ठीक है, चलो आगे बढ़ जाते हैं. Now again same thing. What exactly is a geographical indication? Geographical indication is not really a license. Geographical indication does not give a monopoly like copyright or patent or trademark. Geographical indication is just a title that is given to a product so that we know where it is grown or where it is coming from. So Assam tea does not come from UP. Assam tea comes from Assam, right? So the topography decides, or the geography of that place determines what kind of a tea would it be. The topography of that place, the geography of that place, the demography of that place would decide the kind of tea would be created in Assam, right? And because of those special qualities, that distinct, unique taste, we call it an Assam tea. A Darjeeling tea is different, Assam tea is different, Mizoram tea is different, because they have unique tastes and textures, right? So how do we distinguish between teas? We distinguish in the teas through their geographies, right? So the origination state or the geographical origination of the product or where it is created or where it comes from is the geographical indication. Now, if Assam is creating tea, doesn't mean that only Assam can create the tea and only Assam can sell the tea. No. Assam tea can be sold anywhere in the country. It can be sold by any company in the country. But the tea will be called Assam tea. Why? Because it is coming from Assam. If I start creating the same design that Banarsi sari has, I can sell it. I have the right. It's not that just Banaras would sell Banarsi saris. No. Banarsi saris are sold all over the world. Everybody sells them. Different countries, different designers selling their creations. But they mention the kind of fabric or the kind of design they're using. And the design is called Banarsi. So if Ritu Kumar is selling a Banarsi sari, it will be a Ritu Kumar design or a Ritu Kumar sari, but it will still be a Banarsi sari. So there's no monopoly that a place gets on the product. It's just that the world should know where the product is coming from. Okay, Kolhapuri chappal is called Kolhapuri chappal everywhere in the world, no matter which company sells it. So Solapur chadar, Solapur terry towel, basmati rice, Darjeeling tea, Kanchipuram sari, Alfonso mango, Nagpur orange. These are all geographical indications. Okay. So goods that are identified as origin of a particular religion or that locality, and goods which have a certain reputation or quality or their unique distinct texture or taste or whatever the kind of good is, or the design which is attributed to the place, to the geography, like I said, to the topography, to the demography. So all of these graphy things that attribute to the uniqueness of that product is called a geographical indication. Okay, clear everyone? Anybody any doubt? Anybody any doubt whatsoever? किसी को कोई भी परेशानी अभी बता दो मुझे. You can tell me if anybody has a problem right now. I'm moving forward. The lecture is almost coming to an end. No problem? Okay. Now what exactly is an industrial design? Is everybody familiar with a Birkin bag? I'll try to draw it. Although my trackpad is not working properly, I have drawn the most horrible Birkin bag ever. Oof. So Birkin is an ugly bag. I don't like Birkin. Probably because I can't afford it. Anyhow, so Birkin bag is a kind of a bag. And this bag is manufactured by a company called Hermes. Right? Yeah. Let's see we both. I'm not sure. So now they have a kind of they have a design, a kind of a design. They have a certain shape. They have a certain lock. एक पर्टिकुलर तरह का लॉक होता है उनका, पर्टिकुलर तरह का हैंडल होता है उनका, बाल्टी जैसा डिजाइन होता है उनका, टेढ़ी सी तिरछी सी बाल्टी. And the material that is used in making these bags is crocodile skin. So the leather that they use comes from crocodile, right? Now, the shape or the appearance of the bag is what gives its name, Birkin, right? Similarly, if you look at any other brand, any brand, they have a certain way of creating their items. They use a certain fabric, they use a certain design, they use a certain material, they embroider on the material or they print on the material, and the final appearance that comes out becomes, what should I say, an identity of that brand. Now everybody knows that Birkin comes from Hermes. The bag has a name for itself, but everybody knows where it comes from, right? So the final appearance of the product, if a company has a right on that appearance, the pattern of it, the color of it, not the color cannot be, what should I say, licensed, but the kind of mixture that is used, the kind of pattern that is used, the background design, the print, etc. Everything that determines the final appearance of the product is called the industrial design. How do I identify it's an industrial design? एक product का certain look होता है बच्चे. Other examples of industrial design, I wanted to show you my wallet, but फिर मुझे ऐसा लगा कि कहीं कोई ये ना समझे मैम flaunt कर रही है, तो मैंने दिखाया नहीं. How should I say? Has everybody seen that Louis Vuitton bag? The brown bag, right? That brown bag with LV written on it all over the place and certain other symbols. बहुत सारे लोगों को देखा होगा तुमने. ठीक है, तो वो LV का जो डिजाइन है वो इंडस्ट्रियल डिजाइन है. The product that they use is a certain kind of product. उस प्रोडक्ट से या फिर उस फैब्रिक से उस प्रोडक्ट का certain flair आता है. It looks the way, not logo of the company. No, logo is for different. Yes, so let's say that the background, the brown color and the orange print on it, or the leather that is used, or the braided handle that is used. So basically appearance. Now that kind of a bag or that kind of logo or that kind of structure or background or any that design basically. Now Birkin bag design cannot be created by any company. or the Louis Vuitton texture, the brown background with the LV symbol on it. It is how the product looks finally. Now that cannot be recreated by any company. I cannot create a brown background and write NR all over the place. And then if it looks like LV and I say it doesn't have LV on it, it has NR, Northern Railway. Trademark is a logo. It's a symbol. And industrial design is how the product looks. ठीक है? No, Sayada. Industrial mark and trademarks are different. They're different. ऐसे समझो. ऐसे समझो. Everybody knows this. अब मुझे ये समझ लो तुम. So Gucci has a symbol. GG. Okay, the G cross each other. This is the trademark. Okay. But then Gucci bags are distinct appearance wise. They have a certain background and they have columns, and on those columns Gucci is written, and they have green, red and green line, like 3 lines. तो final product दिखेगा कैसा, वो है इंडस्ट्रियल डिजाइन, और उस फाइनल प्रोडक्ट पे कंपनी का लोगो वो है ट्रेडमार्क. समझ आ गया? Yes, it's a certain design. Basically the appearance, how the product looks, कैसा दिख रहा है. ठीक है, ये है इंडस्ट्रियल डिजाइन. Okay, yeah. So the creation of features or the configuration, the pattern, ornamentation, composition, lines, colors, or anything that is applied to an article in a 2D or a 3D form that makes it look a certain way, the configuration, the pattern, etc. is called an industrial design. So the outer appearance of an article, decoration भी हो सकती है, line, color, shape, texture सब हो सकता है, वो है industrial design. Okay. Now plant variety. Now plant variety, basically, since the development of biotechnology, we have a number of inventions or number of discoveries in the biotechnology field also. Okay, so you may have, or you might have read somewhere that there are seeds which require less water and the pests cannot harm them. तो एक सीड की सर्टेन वैरायटी जिसको पानी भी नहीं चाहिए उतना और उसे पेस्ट्स भी हार्म नहीं कर सकते, उसमें पेस्टिसाइड भी नहीं छिड़कना पड़ता. अब ये सीड की जो क्वालिटी है ये नेचुरल नहीं हो सकती, इसे बनाया गया है, इसे डिस्कवर किया गया है, इसे क्रिएट किया गया है बहुत सारे क्रिस क्रॉस से, बहुत सारी क्रॉस ब्रीड करवा के इसके साथ उसको मिला दिया, उसके साथ उसको मिला दिया. तो when a farmer or a person in a biotechnology field gets creative and something new is created. For example, let's say I actually tasted a fruit which was very unique. It was a cross of watermelon and mango. So the pulp was the color of mango and the taste was of mango, but the pulp texture is was that of a watermelon. तो पल्प बिल्कुल वाटरमेलन जैसा था, वो जूसी और वाटरी, लेकिन उसका टेस्ट मैंगो जैसा था, उसका कलर भी मैंगो जैसा था, राइट. तो ये जो नया इन्वेंशन निकल कर आया, बिल्कुल ये न्यू फ्रूट विच वाज नॉट क्रिएटेड बाय नेचर बट वाज क्रिएटेड बाय ह्यूमन बीइंग्स, इज व्हाट a research is in the biotechnology field, so that the farmers can create it, so that the production can be multiplied and nobody starves, and new better items or food items can be created, better plant varieties can be created, more with more life, with less security needed, with less protection needed, pests not able to harm them, etc. All of this or all discoveries in that particular field is protected by Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers' Right Act 2001. So this act basically provides protection to researchers and farmers so that they discover better breed of plants and they feel encouraged to do it. That is what this act does. So this act basically sustains an agricultural progress. Obviously, if pesticides are not needed, we get a better quality food. Which is not harmed by chemicals, right? Which does not have chemicals in it, but proper nutrients like iron and vitamins. And it also encourages development of new breeds of plants. Now, what exactly is a trade secret? Trade secret is relatively easy. Any information on which the business is running, or the basic of a business, or such information which, if revealed to the competitor, the business will go down completely, is called a trade secret. ओके एक ऐसी इंफॉर्मेशन जिसके बेसिस पे पूरा बिजनेस खड़ा हुआ है, वो किसी डिश की रेसिपी हो सकती है, वो किसी ड्रिंक का फॉर्मुलेशन हो सकता है, वो किसी का मिक्स एंड मैच हो सकता है, और उस पर पूरा का पूरा बिजनेस खड़ा हुआ है, तो उसी को हम ट्रेड सीक्रेट कहते हैं. ओके, so there is no limit to a kind of information that can be a trade secret. A business can decide कि कौन सी information trade secret होगी और कौन सी information trade secret नहीं होगी, है ना? So they have the liberty to decide it, but trade secret basically you understand. Yes, very good, Chanchal. Coca-Cola manufacturing agent, or the secret recipe of Coke, or the secret recipe of namkeens of Haldiram. Haldiram namkeen tastes different, Bikano namkeen tastes different, and all the other namkeens taste different. The biscuits have different flavors. So all the recipes that come out, Parle-G has a distinct taste. I have not tasted a biscuit like that. Right, so the secret in the texture, or the way that the item tastes, or the way that business is being run, is all trade secret. Okay, so examples are recipes. They can be, like I told you, there can be no limit. It can be any quantity of information that can be protected as a trade secret. It can be any type of information that can be protected as a trade secret. Maggi masala, very good. MDH masala, very good. Yes. Very good. Yes, that's exactly what a trade secret is. पूरा बिजनेस खड़ा हुआ है मैगी के मसाले के उस पे रेसिपी पे. वो मैगी वैसा ही टेस्ट करता है. yippee नूडल्स डिफरेंट टेस्ट करते हैं, बाकी के अलग नूडल्स डिफरेंट टेस्ट करते हैं, बट मैगी का अपना अलग फ्लेवर है, बिल्कुल डिफरेंट फ्लेवर है. राइट, so the recipes, the marketing plans, financial projections, methods of conducting business, ये सब कुछ trade secret है. Okay. The authority that governs trade secrets in India is Comptroller General of Patents, Designs, Trademarks, CGPDTM. It is a subordinate option, or the Office of Government of India administers the Indian law of patents, designs, trademarks, and geographical indications. The government first approved its for IP rights policy in May 2016. Right? We won't be doing questions today, guys, because right now there was no current information running in the newspaper that I could use as passage, and a passage based on this information might not be a relevant passage. Like I told you in the beginning, आज की information और आज के basics को current events के साथ complement करना है. तो अगर इससे रिलेटेड कोई भी नया डेवलपमेंट या इंफॉर्मेशन आता है, वो आपको आपके करंट अफेयर्स के सेक्शन में पढ़ा दिया जाएगा. कम से कम आप उसमें कंफ्यूज नहीं होंगे. पेटेंट पे कोई न्यूज आई, आपको पता ही नहीं पेटेंट क्या है, तो मैम ने समझा दिया पेटेंट क्या है ना. तो क्वेश्चंस आज हम नहीं करेंगे क्योंकि इन पे पैसेजेस नहीं बन सकते हैं. करंट से अगर बनेंगे तो वो आपको करा दिए जाएंगे करंट अफेयर्स की क्लास में. So we have sessions. This is the session plan. On November 17th, you have a revision strategy with Ankur sir, 30-day revision strategy. On November 19th, current affairs, July, Abhimanyu sir. And then on November 20, you have current affairs in August, again Abhimanyu sir. 21, you have ACE, your percentage-based caselets by Ankur sir. And on November 23rd, you have most expected inference and conclusion-based questions by KD sir. Right, so that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the session. I shall see you very soon in the next class. We're actually doing family law. Everything that may come in family law will be discussed in the class. उससे बाहर एक पैसेज नहीं आएगा, मैं तुम्हें गारंटी दे सकती हूँ. ठीक है, तो जितना मैं पढ़ा दूंगी उस दिन तुम्हें फैमिली लॉ में, अगर फैमिली लॉ पे पैसेज आता है तो वहीं से आएगा 100%. I can write this down. So do not forget to watch that session. It is going to be conducted on 27th. इससे पहले कि सेशन खत्म हो जाए, let's deal with your problems. Yes. Now, tips on lowering anxiety. Arya, Devdrita, everybody who is anxious right now, the anxiety has no solution, honestly. एंग्जाइटी का कोई सोल्यूशन नहीं होता बच्चे, बिल्कुल भी नहीं सोल्यूशन होता. लेकिन अगर आपको what I do when I feel anxious is that I close my eyes and I just start chanting, and it actually works. I close my eyes, I take deep breaths, and I reduce the importance of the thing that is bothering me. ये मैं करती हूँ. जैसे लेट्स से कि मुझे किसी की बात परेशान कर रही है और वो मुझे एंशियस कर रही है, तो मैं अपनी आंखें बंद करके ये कहूंगी वो है कौन, उसकी बातें क्या मुझसे चिपक गई हैं. अगर उसने मुझसे कहा है तो क्या उसका टैटू बन गया है मेरे हाथ पे या मेरे माथे पे या मेरी बाहों पे, क्या सोल्जर मूवी चल रही है, क्या किसी ने मेरे माथे पे लिख दिया है कि मेरा पति गद्दार है या समथिंग लाइक दैट, तो फिर मैं इतनी इफेक्ट नहीं होती उससे. ये आप कर सकते हैं. एग्जाम इंपॉर्टेंस है बच्चे, बिल्कुल है, लेकिन एग्जाम तुम्हारी मेंटल हेल्थ से ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है. एग्जाम तुम्हारी फिजिकल हेल्थ से ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है. राइट वो सिर्फ एक एग्जाम है, वो तुम्हारे फ्यूचर को कभी भी गवर्न नहीं कर सकता, कभी डिटरमाइन नहीं कर सकता. अपनी फ्यूचर को आप खुद गवर्न करते हैं. अगर एनएलयू में नहीं भी हुआ तो इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि तुम कुछ बहुत अच्छा नहीं कर सकते. मैं तुम्हें बहुत सारे एग्जांपल्स दे सकती हूँ ऐसे लोगों के जो मेरे टच में है, जो नेशनल यूनिवर्सिटी पास आउट नहीं है, लेकिन उन्होंने लाइफ में इतना अच्छा किया है कि हम सोच भी नहीं सकते. ठीक है, तो एनएलयू में नहीं भी होता है तो उस टाइम पे हार्ट ब्रेक होगा, पर कोई बात नहीं, फिर से शुरू करना है ना, कहीं और से शुरू करना और वहां मेहनत करना. कोशिश करना कि तुम जहां पे हो वहीं से तुम अपना रास्ता निकालो. Thinking that only a national university will give you a path to success is wrong. No, you can carve that path from anywhere in the world. You wake up suddenly because of tension, तो पानी पिया करो. Drink water when you suddenly wake up. You ate all your nails. Oh my God, you guys are suffering some serious issues, aren't you? नाखून वाखून मत चबाओ यार. कोई शादी वादी आ गई तो कैसे लगेंगे तुम्हारे हाथ. वैसे तो मैं सजेस्ट करूंगी कि शादियों में ना ही जाया जाए. इस समय तो पूरी शादी वगैरह शुरू हो गई हैं. ठीक है, तो बिल्कुल बिल्कुल भी नाखून नहीं खाने, बिल्कुल भी नेल्स नहीं खाने, बिल्कुल भी नहीं. If you have to attend a marriage on 19th of December and you have chewed nails, how bad would they look? कितने बुरे लगेंगे. तो मत करो ऐसा. अगर नींद से उठ जाते हो रात बेरात अगर आप टेंशन में या फिर इनसिक्योरिटी में उठ जाते हैं तो पहले पानी पीजिए. ठीक है, ड्रिंक सम वाटर and always keep something with yourself that can calm you down. For me, pizza works. You can decide what works for you. बच्चों के लिए चॉकलेट चलती है. चॉकलेट एंजाइटी को कम कर देती है. एग्जाम को सर पे इतना नहीं सवार करो कि हर चीज कॉम्प्रोमाइज हो जाए. राइट और भी बड़ी बड़ी परेशानियां आती है लाइफ में. अगर तुम अभी से घबरा जाओगे फिर तुम बाकी परेशानियां कैसे झेलोगे. लेट्स से यू बिकम अ चीफ मिनिस्टर इन द नियर फ्यूचर और कोई ऑपोजिशन पार्टी तुम्हारी बदनामी करने में लगी हुई है और तुम्हारी कुर्सी छीनने में लगी हुई है, तो ये क्लैट का एग्जाम कितना छोटा लगेगा ना उस टाइम पे. थैंक यू विकी, दैट इज सो नाइस ऑफ यू. हाउ कैन यू मैनेज डार्क चॉकलेट वट एवर इट इज. मीठा जनरली बच्चों को शांत कर देता है, तो अगर आपको मीठा अच्छा लगता है तो अपने पास कुछ मीठा रखिए और याद रखिए कि कोई बात नहीं, कुछ ये नहीं हुआ तो कुछ और कर लेंगे. और ये बात अपने से तब तक कहो जब तक तुम शांत नहीं हो जाते. और मेरी बात यकीन मानो, अगर तुम वाकई चाहते हो पूरे कंपैशन और सारे के सारे वो भारी भरकम वर्ड्स और एडजेक्टिव्स जो होता है, पैशन, कंपैशन, सिंसियरिटी, डेडिकेशन, सबके साथ अगर तुम चाहते हो कि तुम्हें यही कॉलेज मिले, नेशनल यूनिवर्सिटी ही मिले और तुम उसके लिए काम भी कर रहे हो, तो ट्रस्ट मी, मिल जाएगा. ठीक है, क्यों नहीं मिलेगा. मेहनत करोगे तो क्यों नहीं मिलेगा. मेहनत हमेशा काम आती है. मेहनत कभी वेस्ट नहीं जाती, कभी भी नहीं. You're interested in politics? तो बस बढ़िया है, फिर तो वकालत जरूर कर लेना सोनल, प्रैक्टिस उसमें जाने के लिए. What about mock scores? Arzu, what exactly, ma'am, there will be negative marks if we don't attempt any question, it will be concluded. No. इफ यू डोंट अटेम्प्ट अ क्वेश्चन, इफ यू लीव इट, तब 0.25 नहीं कटता, ठीक है ना। आपका लीगल का स्पीड नहीं बढ़ रहा है, स्टैग्नेंट हो गया है। लीगल का स्पीड बढ़ गया होगा, तुम कोई और गलती कर रहे होगे, यू माइट बी मेकिंग अनदर मिस्टेक, स्पीड तो बढ़ जाता है, ठीक है, ऐसा नहीं हो सकता। और तुम्हें कैसे पता तुम्हारा स्पीड नहीं बढ़ रहा? हाउ डू यू नो? अगर तुम 25 मिनट्स में 2 क्वेश्चंस कर पा रहे थे तो वो अब तक वही मेंटेन है क्या? बिल्कुल स्पीड तेज हो जाती है। ऐसा नहीं होता बच्चे कि आप एफर्ट करें और वो एफर्ट शो ना करें, धीरे धीरे पता चलता है। मैं तुम्हें एक एग्जाम्पल देती हूँ। योर मॉक स्कोर इज स्टैग्नेंट, विल डिस्कस ऑन इट। मैं ना एक फेस बनाया करती थी, एक माथा बनाती थी, फिर नोज बनाती थी, फिर हल्का सा ये हिस्सा बनाती थी और लिप्स ड्रॉ करती थी, ठीक है ना। और मैं बहुत ही बुरा सा बनाती थी वो स्ट्रक्चर, साइड का जो फेस होता है, इतनी लंबी तोते जैसी नाक कर देती थी, इतना लंबा माथा कर देती थी और अजीब तरह के लिप्स कर देती थी, वो इतना अगली लगता था। लेकिन मैं उसे बनाती ही रहती थी, कभी न्यूज़पेपर पे बना दिया, कभी कागज पे बना दिया, कभी कहीं बना दिया, कभी कहीं बना दिया। एक दिन मैंने न्यूज़पेपर पे वही फेस ड्रॉ कर रखा था और मेरी मॉम ने कहा ये तो तुमने बड़ा अच्छा बनाया। मुझे फाइनली उसे ड्रॉ करना आ गया था, मुझे पता भी नहीं चला मैं कब इम्प्रूव कर गई, मुझे पता ही नहीं चला। इसी तरह से तुम्हें भी नहीं पता होगा कि तुम इम्प्रूव कर रहे हो। इम्प्रूवमेंट आता है, तुम उसे समझ नहीं पाते, ठीक है। मॉक स्कोर अगर स्टैग्नेंट हो गए, आरजू यू आर मेकिंग द सेम मिस्टेक्स ओवर एंड ओवर अगेन। बिल्कुल विकी, देखो कितनी सुंदर बात कही है इस बच्चे ने। कुछ नहीं होगा तो एक्सपीरियंस तो होगा, पढ़ाई होगी, इंफॉर्मेशन होगी, यू फाइंड सैम्पल पेपर्स। तो ये अभी अच्छी बात है ना, ये सैम्पल पेपर्स अगर तुम्हें इजी लगते हैं तो बायजूस के मॉक्स थोड़े डिफिकल्ट क्रिएट किए जाते हैं। अगर तुम उनमें अच्छा स्कोर करते हो तो क्लैट में तो तुम कितना ही बड़ा स्कोर करोगे, ठीक है। तो सोनल जी, हाँ बिल्कुल सैयदा की बात सुनो। सैयदा कह रही है कि भाई अगर आप नेगेटिव सोच रहे हैं तो थोड़ा पॉजिटिव भी सोचिए, सब चीज को बैलेंस करके चलिए, है ना। हर चीज को बैलेंस करके चलो, नेगेटिव सोच रहे हो तो पॉजिटिव भी सोचो, पॉजिटिव सोच रहे हो तो थोड़ी सी नेगेटिविटी आ ही जाती है। और आरजू, आप अपनी मिस्टेक्स को पहचानिए, मिस्टेक्स क्या कर रहे हो तुम, ये तुम्हें करना पड़ेगा, ठीक है। तुम्हारे पास 2-3 दिन है, उस दिन में कम से कम 3 मॉक्स दो, 6-7 घंटे लगेंगे लेकिन दो, और देखो कि क्या गलती है जो तुम बार बार करते हो और उस गलती को सुधारो, मॉक का स्कोर अपने आप बढ़ जाएगा। बट तुम्हें गलती खुद ही ढूंढनी पड़ेगी, यहाँ बैठे बैठे मैं नहीं बता पाऊंगी, ओके। होगा टाइम पे, प्रैक्टिस करते रहिए नेहा, टाइम पे भी होगा, 100% होगा, okay. So that's it for today guys. I want everybody to like this session. On 27th we are going to read family law. Like I said, family law से बाहर कुछ नहीं आएगा, मैं सब कुछ पढ़ा दूंगी चाहे मुझे 2 घंटे लग जाए। एक पैसेज अगर फैमिली लॉ से आ गया जो कि 2 सालों से प्रैक्टिस चल रही है तो तुम्हें वो पैसेज 100% आता होगा। Azad, that's a good thing. Next class is on 27th guys, it's on 27th. I shall see you on 27th, right? And everybody, एंजाइटी होती है तो कोई बात नहीं, ये बात मैं हमेशा कहती हूँ, आई रिपीट माई सेल्फ, एक फियरलेस आदमी वो नहीं होता जिसे डर ही नहीं लगता, एक फियरलेस आदमी वो होता है जो डर के बावजूद भी काम करता रहता है, ठीक है। तो आप वैसे वाले फियरलेस बने। यू आर अ ह्यूमन बीइंग, इट्स ओके टू बी स्कैर्ड, इट्स ओके टू बी एंशियस, जस्ट ड्रिंक सम वाटर एंड रिमेंबर कि सब ठीक हो ही जाएगा। Okay, I shall see you again very soon. Till then, everybody take care. Follow us on Instagram at BYJU'S Exam Prep Law. You can subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. You can push that bell icon so that you get notified with our new lectures and sessions. You can like us on Facebook. You can join our Telegram channel. There's so much you can do. Anxious होने की क्या बात है, तुम्हारे पास टाइम ही कहाँ है। फॉलो करो, लाइक करो, सब्सक्राइब करो, वीडियोस देखते रहो, अपने आप को शांत रखो और हम फिर मिलेंगे। गुड नाइट, बाय, थैंक यू।